Welcome to Money Smart for Adults, Module 4, Your Spending and Saving Plan. We're going to go through this instructor guide and highlight how you can facilitate this training. As in all other modules, it starts out here with a contents page, giving you all the information relating to this module listed by section and page number so that you know exactly where to find things here. Background information for instructors, as with other modules, is exactly the same. Starts out with a reference to the tools you'll be using to deliver the training, including the guide to presenting Money Smart for Adults. The training preparation checklist is to make sure that you have everything that's going to equip you to have a successful training. The materials you may need, as in other modules, this is a checklist of all that you're going to need to deliver the training, including the instructor guide, participant guide, PowerPoint slides. Now, regarding the participant guide, if it's a challenge for you to give copies to everyone in your training, please refer them to the online version or some other solutions that may be appropriate. Optional materials such as the parking lot for questions and supplies for any optional introductory activity that you may be doing should be on hand. Understanding the icons, this section is the same for all the other modules in the Money Smart for Adults training. You can reference them here as a refresher if you need to. Module purpose. This module helps participants put together information about their income and expenses to develop a spending and saving plan. Module at a glance table. We estimate that you will need 1 hour and 25 minutes to cover the entire module, not including breaks or any optional introductory activities. Now, please note, this module may be most useful for participants as a follow-up to Module 3, Your Income and Expenses. That module provides information and resources that form the foundation for a spending and savings plan. Please refer to the Guide to Presenting Money Smart for Adults, which includes additional information on selecting sections for specific audiences so you can further customize your training. Now, the actual module at a glance table lists the sections, the key takeaways, the purpose, objectives, and the time estimates all laid out here for you. Now, here's the module opening. You're showing slide number 1 as participants arrive for the training. Use this time to actually welcome them, introduce yourself, ask them to sign in, ensure any requested reasonable accommodations are in place, and make any necessary adjustments. And once you're ready to begin the training, ask the participants to complete the pre-training survey, and you're showing slide number 2 as they do that. The parking lot and participant guide. You want to establish a flip chart poster for the parking lot and inform your participants that it's for questions, concerns, ideas, and resources that you will address during breaks or at the end of training. Mention that the participant guide is theirs to use during and after the session. Encourage them to take notes and to write in them. And if time permits, start your training with an introductory activity. It's highly recommended that you do this, as it's a great way to get participants energized and ready to learn. And you'll find suggestions for fun activities in the Guide to Presenting Money Smart for Adults, or you can actually use your own. Section 1, Making a Monthly Spending and Saving Plan. Participants will be able to create and use a spending and saving plan and list ways to increase income and decrease expenses. Now, as we go forward, let's pause for a moment to point out some helpful navigational features of the instructor guide. There's helpful information in the headers and footer that will help you stay oriented. In the header, the right-hand side reminds you that you're looking at the instructor guide. This is helpful if you happen to also consult a copy of the participant guide during your training. The left-hand side of the header identifies the section you're in. The footer identifies the module along with the page number. These modules can seem like they all look alike, but you can always know where you are by looking at the headers and footers. You'll notice that there are facilitation instructions: say, ask, do, show slide, which are all prompts to guide you through the flow of the training through the section topics. Show slide number 3, introducing the section. Show slide number 4, introducing the key takeaway. Use a monthly spending and saving plan to guide how you use your money. This section starts out with the topic building blocks of a spending and saving plan. Showing slide number 5, you're going to talk about how a spending and saving plan helps you to compare income and expenses, understand where your money's going, and make adjustments to guide how you use money to meet your goals. This is also known as a budget. People call it that, but for the sake of our training, we're using the phrase spending and saving plan so it's clear that we're planning how we spend our money and also how we save. So you'll be introducing the income definition and expenses. So we do have an activity showing slide number 6. It's the Apply It, Making My Spending and Savings Plan. This is a worksheet that actually gives the elements of what constitutes a plan. And so your next few slides is going to share with participants the elements of the actual plan. We're starting with slide number 7, filling out my spending and savings plan. It lists the 3 sections and also the steps to fill it out. Slide number 8 goes into the comparison once the participants get down to doing the math between their income, expenses, and then calculating what the differences are. There are 3 particular outcomes: 0, positive, or negative, and you'll explain what all those mean based on the instructions in your instructor guide. Now, please note that your scripting is going to continue on page 20 in the instructor guide, because the next several pages, as you see here, page 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19, are all looking at the same information that your participants can see in their participant guide. So you actually have a copy of it here in the instructor guide so that you can actually talk them through it. Now, in terms of what you're going to be asking them to do, we're going to have them actually do this after the training. This is a lot of information and you won't have time during your training to have them do it. So the suggestion is to have them do it afterwards. But to get started, we're actually going to look at a try it activity, which is with Shelley and Walter. They're using a spending and savings plan. So you're going to read the scenario or ask a participant or volunteer to do that. But what you're going to do is have your participants to familiarize themselves with this spending and savings plan document. So you're going to get them into pairs, give them 3 minutes to review the information as it's outlined here in this particular scenario. Now, here's a note. Now, the participants are only going to need to complete the comparison to their total net income and their total expenses. The rest is filled out for them, and the answers to that table and the questions are on page 24. Okay, so I want you to know that they're going to go through this, but they're only going to be actually calculating the information on page 24. Now that's page 24 in your instructor guide. In their particular participant guide, it is actually on page 8. Now, showing slide number 11, after you've done that activity, now it's about having the participants come up with ideas around daily, weekly, or monthly ideas around saving, sharing, and spending their money. Slide number 11 starts out with the daily and weekly ideas. And so go ahead and facilitate a discussion around those things, and always ask if they have other ideas for using their spending and savings plan on a daily basis. So you're asking participants to answer the question, and you're going to write their responses on a flip chart or on the whiteboard. Same thing as you go through this, as you go through the monthly ideas, just have them answer the question that you're going to ask. Do you have other ideas for using your spending and saving plan on a weekly basis, or do you have other ideas for using your spending and saving plan on a monthly basis? And that way you're getting the discussion going very fluently around these particular things. Slide 13, you're getting into increasing income. There's a scripting around what you're going to say about how participants can increase their income, which will help them cover expenses. And you're asking the question, can you think of ways to increase income? As usual, writing their responses on a flip chart or a whiteboard. Slide number 14, now it's about decreasing expenses and what this is all about. Now, this one breaks down needs, wants, and obligations. And so you'll have a discussion around that, in addition to 3 strategies: to conserve, where they can get cheaper or use less of; adjust, where they can renegotiate over a longer term; or do without, where they can eliminate. So you're going to ask the question, what are some ways to conserve as a way to reduce expenses? And of course, record their answers and continue with the discussion around this. There's another question, what are some ways to adjust expenses? And get their answers on that. And then finally, can you name some expenses that might be completely eliminated? Okay, so these are very, very good questions to really prompt the discussions around this topic. And then finally, you're going to give them some tips. There's some tips here on page 31 in the instructor guide about how they can decrease their expenses. Next, making adjustments. Now, this is going to be on page 17 in the participant guide, and this is about how a spending and saving plan does not stay the same every month. So this is your opportunity to let participants know that this is going to actually need attention more than just one time. They're going to have to look at what's changing in their circumstances, what's changing around their income, their expenses, and how they can make adjustments to their plan. There is an activity. You're going to show slide 15, which is for try it, adjusting a spending and saving plan. Now, this is really to help them to think about how they can adjust their own, but what we're going to use is the Shelley and Walter scenario. And so there are a series of questions that you're going to allow them to answer. Now, you're going to give them some time to look at the scenario again, get them to work in pairs to think about the questions, and then after that, you're going to ask them, how can Shelley and Walter increase their income? How can Shelley and Walter decrease their expenses? And then have a discussion around that. And that will actually conclude this particular section, showing slide number 16 at the end of that, which is the key takeaway. Use a monthly spending and savings plan to guide how you use your money. Section 2, when money is short. The objectives here is that participants will be able to prioritize which bills to pay first based on what might happen if bills are not paid in full and on time. Slide 17, you're introducing the section. Slide 18, you are introducing the key takeaway for this section, which is to prioritize which bills to pay first when money is short. Our first topic here is how does it happen and what can I do? You're asking participants, what are some reasons people might not have enough money to pay bills, even if they regularly use a monthly spending and saving plan? So that's going to prompt a great discussion, because even with plans, sometimes things doesn't quite work out. So this is what you're doing here, and you're going to contribute information here as listed here on page 36 in your instructor guide if it's not contributed through the discussion. Then you're going to say that even if you plan carefully, you can run into situations where there isn't enough money to pay bills, and really give them an opportunity to really go through thinking about that. Now, here's a note. Module 5, Your Savings, talks about saving money for the unexpected. So consider using portions of that module in your training based on the needs or interest of your participants. Showing slide number 20 gets a little personal. It says, what can I do? So this is where you're going to facilitate a discussion around income, increasing income or decreasing expenses, contacting creditors, reaching out for help, and prioritizing. That's where the discussion is going to go, because it's going to segue into slide number 21, which is about prioritizing based on what might happen. So you're saying that prioritizing means making choices about which bills you'll pay in full, pay partially, or pay late. You want to emphasize with participants that people still need to pay all of their bills. That's important. People are responsible for paying the bills they owe. But the order in which you pay bills can sometimes help you make it through the month. Examining the consequences of not paying certain bills in full and on time is the first step to prioritizing. The top of page 38 lists some potential consequences that should be considered. There's also a series of questions here to get participants involved in thinking about consequences of not making certain payments in full and on time. And there's a series of questions here that you can ask. Again, this is designed to really get all participants involved in this discussion about what they can do. And the first question, what are some consequences of not paying your rent? Next question, what are some consequences of not paying your car payment? What are some consequences of not paying your annual fee for a license related to your profession? And what are some consequences of not paying a magazine subscription bill? So these questions are all designed to, again, get people to talk, to answer. The participants are going to relate to one or more of these questions, and then that's going to really give you lots of good discussion with your participants about this prioritization topic. Slide number 22 is an actual activity. Apply it, prioritizing my expenses. There is an example here regarding a phone bill for $50 that's due on January 5th. The person can't pay it on time and in full, so they call the creditor. In this case, it's the phone company. They found out that they may be charged a late fee and that their phone service may be cut off, but not until the bill is unpaid for 2 months. And so that's great information to know, because when we talk about helping participants to understand how to prioritize, them knowing what the potential consequences are if they pay late, how that's going to impact the rest of their plan. And so as you see in the example here, it lists everything out here in the space provided about the bill itself, the due date, spoke to the creditor, asked for help, and what will happen if I don't pay in full when due, and then to assign a priority. This has been given a priority of 4, so there are obviously 3 other obligations, expenses that may come before this, and so it's easier to identify what priority to assign once they understand what will happen if they don't pay in full and when due. And so that worksheet is really going to help participants really to think this through regarding their own scenario, especially when they go back to think about their own spending and saving plan. And then slide number 23 is the section closing, which is prioritize which bills to pay first when money is short. Module closing, you're going to remember the key takeaways, pointing out for them to remember both of the key takeaways from both sections here in this particular module. And then at the same time, you're going to want them to really to consider taking action. The taking action portion, this is really an important part of the training. Every module has the same take action activity, and it's important not to skip it, even if you can only spare a couple of minutes. The participants will remember what you just presented a lot easier if they can write down a few action steps. Knowledge isn't enough, action is required. And once you finish that, you can administer the post-training survey. And as you can see, you'll be showing slide 25 while they're doing that. And then you can actually collect both the pre and post-training survey and compare their answers. And the answer key is listed here on page 44 in your instructor guide. And you can actually use that to determine how people actually move their knowledge from the beginning of the module to the end of the module. And as you can see here where module 4 fits into the overall Money Smart for Adults curriculum, and really it's really placed very strategically here right up front, because it's really talking about the plan and spending that your participants can really think about very early on here in the training. And that will conclude our highlight and overview of Module 4, your spending and saving plan.